Hey everybody, today we're talking about apps. There are over 1 million applications out in the wild, whether it be in the Apple App Store or Google Play. Tons of developers submit apps every single day to these stores, hoping to have created the next Draw Something or a successful new productivity app. But after a little while and the big buyout doesn't come, what are you supposed to do? You just spent your time creating your app. Hell, you've even created a solid user base, a couple thousand people, 10, 20,000 people, but that's where our guest today comes in. Jonathan Kay created Apptopia, an awesome new startup that is a secondary marketplace for the sale of applications. Today we're going to dive into the need for this marketplace, how developers can make money, and how some are even coming close to making a living selling their apps on Apptopia. We're also going to chat about why some apps fail, why buying an app might be a better decision for your business versus spending time and resources to develop your own. John's an awesome dude, also a New York Giants fan. We hit it off. We had a great time. He's also super inspiring as an entrepreneur. Got his name as the ambassador of Buzz at Grasshopper, another very, very well-known startup. I think you're really going to enjoy the show today. If you develop apps, if you're considering building an app, definitely think you'll learn something from our conversation. So I hope you enjoy the show. Let's get started. Welcome to Mobile Mix, everybody. I'm Greg Hickman, and today we're joined by Jonathan Kay from Apptopia. How are you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, man. How about yourself?
Very, very good. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me. I think your story is super interesting, and I actually just found out that you're a New York Giants fan, which I want to hear a little bit about because you live in Boston. But
is this good or bad? Are we more or less friends at this point?
Way more friends. I'm a Giants fan. I'm from Jersey, so.
Oh, beautiful, dude. Beautiful.
Jersey boy in Denver. But
how did that happen?
Well, moved out here 4 years ago. But you know, grew up. Favorite color was blue. New Jersey, Giants fan. You know, that's pretty much how it worked.
Done and done.
But
yeah, I mean, me and my friends are less good friends as a result of the last Super Bowl. That's for sure. But it's okay. We won.
It's sweet though. Very sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
How do you survive in Boston with that?
Dude, I only wear my Giants gear to bars when with a large group of male friends. Dude, otherwise it's like dangerous. You know, like Massachusetts sports fans are not logical or sane. You know.
I know that. But you're from the Boston area?
So I grew up in Connecticut. So
okay.
I was kind of like halfway between New York or Boston, and always like hated the Yankees and kind of that part of New York. But the Giants were like a different breed, dude. You know, they were always like the underdogs, always like strugglers. Yeah. They were like an easier team for me to fall in love with. You know. I
agree. My best friends were all Jets fans, so you know they pretty much hate me after the last 2 Super Bowls, and now they have to deal with Tebow, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah, seriously.
But I saw that and I was like, sweet, we have a little connection, even though you're Celtics and Red Sox.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really follow baseball, so I'm kind of a Rockies fan now since I can walk to the stadium. But so I wanted to get you on here because your story is super interesting with kind of how you got involved with Grasshopper and then kind of made the leap, true entrepreneurial style, starting Apptopia, which is in the mobile realm, which I want to talk about. But can you give us a little bio and introduction on yourself, kind of how you got started and, where Apptopia even came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we met through my time at Grasshopper where I ran a large part of the marketing function there. You know, the title was Ambassador of Buzz, but it was really how do you drive signups, right? How do you drive marketing in the most untraditional way humanly possible, right? Mm-hmm. And how do you scale that up to actually have a real impact on cost per acquisition and real impact on the kind of bottom line? And so that's what I did for Grasshopper for about 3 years. Mm-hmm. Honestly, man, I left because a couple reasons. One, I just really wanted to do something crazy. Like I really did. To be completely honest with you, I just was ready. I had built up the network to do it, and I was at the point where I was just ready. Like I just wanted to do something a little crazy, and I also had kind of felt like I did what I needed to do at Grasshopper, and I think there's something valuable. Like I don't remember who said it, I'm going to go on a limb and say it was like Jerry Seinfeld. But like, dude, you got to like, you know, you don't want to just like overstay your welcome somewhere, right?
Right, yeah.
I like done a lot for Grasshopper, but I was less and less needed. You know what I mean? And so, you know, eventually you got to just try something else, right?
Right.
The reason mobile is for a couple reasons. One, my current business partner, Ellie, he had probably pitched me on 35, 40 different ideas before I was like, okay, I'll actually do it with you. So he probably had to take me out to dinner at least 4 or 5 times before he convinced me to jump ship, which was good and fun. But ultimately mobile for 2 reasons. Well, I'll tell you why mobile, and then I'll tell you why Apptopia. So mobile because there's something like going on here, right? There's something like, and I want to say there's something wrong, and I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but it's like Apple's making $8 billion a quarter on just like mobile app sales, and like MasterCard and Coca-Cola don't even make that in terms of just revenue, not even profit in the entire year, right? And like they provide like real services. You know what I mean? It's like it's very like there's something weird going on. There's something really strange going on, and it's not. I don't know if it's going to sustain. I don't know what's going to go on. But getting involved in like a second market within that space is a really good place to position yourself because you have the opportunity to A, sell things that are doing really well, and B, you have the opportunity to sell like distressed debt, right? You're selling like a distressed asset almost.
Right.
And so you're kind of good on both sides of the market. And it doesn't really matter if the number of apps increase or the value of the apps increase, right? It's going to go one way or the other. And so we felt like we were in a really good position. Why Apptopia? My business partner had in 2009, 2010, he built an app called Gpush, which was the first push notification client for Gmail.
Okay.
And probably sold like a couple million copies of these, made a very substantial amount of money. And him and his business partners were essentially like, 5 months into it, they're like, we're done maintaining the servers. We have other ideas. We want to just like move on. And they felt like shackled to this business because it had significant value. It was still making money. But how could they walk away? Like, A, they were young and they didn't know what it was actually worth, what it was valued at. B, what should they do? Like cold call competitors? Should they blog about the fact that they want to sell it? They had no idea what to do, right? They had no idea how to approach it. And so this was kind of what started the idea that like we should be able to sell our app somewhere. You know what I mean? Like there has to be some way to do this without like just hoping and praying that one day like Zynga will call or that someone's just going to randomly call, right? This is not like a real exit strategy. This is like playing the lottery.
Right.
And so we were smart enough to know that in 2009 and 2010, the market wasn't saturated enough, right? There wasn't a need for it. But once we started to see apps being built to help you discover apps and we saw a couple other key indicators, we're like, okay, like this is real. It's ready,
Yeah. So it sounds like you, and again, I watched your interview with Rob at Untethered TV. The way you said it in that interview, it sounded like you had the idea much earlier, but you realized it needed to be a little bit more saturated in order to jump. So, is that actually the case, or was it Ellie and then and that's like once he realized it was saturated, he kind of brought you in? Like how early were you thinking about the idea before, it actually was created?
Yeah, no, it's actually a fair question. I would say I was not thinking about this since 2009. Right? He had probably thought about it way before I am. I probably knew him 9 months before we started the company, and this is when he started trying to get me to jump ship. And that's kind of when it all began in terms of conversations. And you know what, man? It's all about timing.
Yeah,
like it really is, right? You could read tons of interesting books about people who started ideas that are billion-dollar ideas like 6 months too early, and now they're just like, not benefiting from it, right? So
yeah.
Timing is huge.
I think the other day you tweeted about something in regards to getting investment, not you particularly, but like investment's not the win. There's more to it. It's really just like the first step. And I wanted to bring that up for a couple reasons because I have a few friends that are kind of in the startup phase, and being kind of in the Boulder area, there's a lot of of hype and talk about trying to get into Techstars and Founders Institute and these programs that provide you a lot of guidance and mentorship. And the ones that I know closely come out of it and they're instantaneously talking about how we can get an investor as soon as possible. And, coming from Grasshopper, I don't know if Grasshopper had investment, but I believe Apptopia,
Bootstrap, yeah.
I believe Apptopia did. Can you talk about that statement in general and, what you're seeing kind of coming out of startups? And do a lot of people have that mentality that like the win is the investment?
Yeah, so this is actually a really interesting question, especially because my standpoint changed a lot on this recently. Because I was like, I was brewed as an entrepreneur in Grasshopper, which is this like ridiculous bootstrapped story. And so when I started my own business, I'm like, man, this is what we got to do, right? Because what you experience is kind of what you believe. But yeah, so a couple things, man. Like Apptopia specifically required a good amount of like R&D and a good amount of technology because these app stores don't have APIs, right? Like we're screen scraping data, and this is not something that's just readily available. Like you can't like authenticate into Google. You know what I mean? Like this is just not, these services don't exist right now for the app store. So for us, it was technology intensive. And so we were in a position where we needed to quit our jobs. We immediately needed to start researching and developing. And we needed a little bit of money to float ourselves because we knew we weren't going to be able to launch the product for about 4 months, right? And so we needed to be able to sustain life for that period of time, which is important. Because what I realized is that being an entrepreneur is literally only about sustaining life. If you like hustle really hard and you sustain life long enough, like eventually something will hit. Eventually you will do something that's like a win, right? So I think, the first investment was really that. And then like, I'll be completely honest with you, man, we're raising another big round right now. And you know why we're doing it? Because right now I have so many buyers who want apps and I don't have enough people to like go get them for them. And as a business owner, that's a really scary feeling. Yeah. And so like on one hand, you're like, this is awesome because it's even worse when no one wants to talk to you and no one's calling you. Right. But it's equally as fucking bad, dude. If like people want stuff and you don't give it to them, eventually they go somewhere else to get it. Right. Yeah. Right. It's like you can't miss out on the opportunity because like revenue is oxygen right now. And so for me, it's like, man, we're hiring people even though, the budget might not say we should, because when you have demand, you need to like capitalize on it immediately. Right. And so I would say that's part of it. Also, we were first to market on an idea, and we're smart enough to know that there's already other people starting to do what we're doing. And so we have the brand name right now, but if we continue to just muddle along and slowly grow, like eventually you lose the brand name. Like you have to take it and run and like build separation. And so sometimes like investment allows you to do that. Like allows you to like hire, right? Like I need to hire human beings, man. I need more human beings to just like live and breathe Apptopia right now. Right. And it's hard to do that without money. Yeah. And so I'm a much like firmer believer in money now as a result of the fact that like I run the operations every single day of this business. I'm like, there's only so much you can do. No matter how human you are, like eventually you need to go out and have a beer with your friends. Like eventually it doesn't scale, right? Like being a crazy entrepreneur, and you need other people to buy into this. Absolutely. To address your specific comment, it's just funny, right? Like you talk to a lot of people who are like, oh my God, we need to raise money. We need to raise money. Then we raise money. The entrepreneurs like check out. And I was just at an event and I heard Fred Destin, who's like a well-known venture capitalist from Atlas Ventures. He's like, you entrepreneurs know that when you raise the money, you don't get to keep it, right? Like, like you don't like go home and you don't get to keep the money, right? You might raise $4 million, but it doesn't go into your bank account, And I just thought that's like a funny thing. I think investment is awesome. I think if you get convince someone to give you money at a good valuation, you should be proud of yourself. You should be excited. But you just got to take it to the game, man, right? Like the game hasn't even started. It's what you do with that money, right? Yeah, no, totally. So looking at, exactly what Apptopia is, it's a second market for, developers and people who are building apps to, to sell them
an exit strategy, if you will. I think, you've mentioned a few times. Who would you say kind of are the customers of these apps?
And do you mean the buy side or the sell side?
Well, let's do the buy side first. Well, let's do the sell side first, and then we'll do the buy side.
Got you. So sell side is just app developers, right?
Yeah.
It's app developers, and it's mostly so there's 300,000 app developers in the world, and there's like 1.3, 1.4 million apps. Of the 300,000 app developers, my hypothesis is that about 285,000 of them are just like you and me, just like hackers. Like, I built 4 or 5 apps. I wanted to test this app, and they're making less than $100,000 a year, and they're like indie guys, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would say that that's our target market right now from a sell side, right? Because them getting a $5,000 or $6,000 check positively affects their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, absolutely positively affects their life because they weren't making close to that, and they weren't going to make that in 2 years, right? And I use that number because while I think ultimately the average sale price will be closer to $7,000 to $8,000, right now it's in the $4,000 to $6,000 range, right? And we sold as high as 12 and as low as 500, but like the average check size is really in the $4,000 to $6,000 range, and so the sellers are these like guys who have between 1 and 15 apps. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we're actually starting to see a couple big mobile shops get involved and essentially say, okay, we used to build shooting apps. Now we're building kids' books, and we're going to sell off the shooting apps, right? You're starting to see like actual, like we changed, and so we might as well get some liquidity, and we might as well cash that out.
Right.
And that's kind of cool for me because I think that just goes to show the validity of the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Now that you're starting to see like a little bit bigger guys start to list their apps. I don't think it changes the fact that our bread and butter will always be indie developers, like solo guys trying to make some money. Mm-hmm. But it's just nice to see the bigger guys kind of believe what you're doing, right?
Yeah. And it's an exchange, right? It's sort of like eBay, right? That's kind of how it's set up.
Yeah, so I mean, we're mobile app brokers, right? And at the core, we help you get acquired. Mm-hmm. And so you're selling your code, your revenue, your users, your intellectual property for the idea. However, we've created an eBay-style marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. As stupid simple as eBay. Right. With real stats, real data you can bid on and buy. And so I think that's kind of the cool part. We've taken like a brokerage model and made it as easy as eBay, right? Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing, so now looking at the buyers, who is the typical buyer? And then have you seen any kind of success stories of someone who's been able to buy the app and then maybe somehow flip it to make more money? Have you seen that yet? I know it's early, but.
No, this is really interesting, right? And so I'll say in terms of flipping, I have not seen someone do it yet, but I know 3 or 4 buyers who are actively pursuing that strategy. Huh. Like, they bought it. They're working on it, and their plan is to put it back on the marketplace, right? I just haven't seen the second half of it come to fruition yet because it takes a little bit of time, right? You got about a couple months of increased revenue before you can do that. But the buyers, man, there's a handful, right? I'll give you a couple of use cases. So I think one, you have this like pizza place example, which I like to use, which is why do you see like one pizza place close down and another pizza place open up in the same spot? And so that means that like developers are buyers, right? And like, I can make better calzones than you. I'll provide free delivery. My menu is designed better than yours, right? And it's just like, dude, you fucked something up in your app. You don't have a bug you don't know how to fix. You completely messed up the gameplay. You haven't done something that I know I can do better than you, right? And so I have an opportunity to buy that, do it better, and have the app perform better as a result, right? Second, we have like companies and big businesses and small businesses. We worked with even a couple Fortune 500 companies who were like, okay, we know we need to get involved in mobile. Here's $25,000, $30,000, $40,000. We would rather buy an app and customize it to what we want than to start from scratch and build the app for $50,000 to $75,000, right? Because let's be real, 90 to 95% of new apps are not creative ideas. Okay? And like within the game sphere, you can create a creative idea, right? Like I could create a game that throws a Starbucks cup at a Starbucks barista, and that probably doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, like you come up with any weird idea for a game.
Yeah.
But it's like utilities and like all these other things. Like you're not always going to come out with a new idea. State Farm is not going to build an app that doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. So it's stupid for them to go spend $75,000 to $100,000 to build something when they can buy something that's maybe not the top 5 app, but it's a little bit lower on the list. It's 90% what they want. They can buy it for $10,000 versus paying $75,000 to $80,000. Hire a developer to customize it, make it what they want, and they're acquiring users at the same time, right? Which is the important part. When you buy an app, you're acquiring users.
Well, I mean, don't you think once they start customizing it, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how many of those customers drop off based on the acquisition. You know, especially if it's like I was thinking of it as, you know, the State Farm example. They don't want to build an app. They see something on Apptopia that, you know, has a lot of the functionality that they need, and, you know, they're really just buying it to speed up their process of getting an app into the game. Where they buy it, they don't really care about the users. They're more worried about the code, the functionality. Okay, now we can build on this and we can get back into the marketplace much faster with our own branded solution, and kind of save time on the development cycle. That's kind of how I was viewing it, but I didn't even view it from the way you were talking about it, where they're actually buying the users. Do you think that these bigger companies that might want to save time are just going to kind of maybe buy 5 apps and take the feature sets to make their own, their own app that they don't even care about the customers?
So I actually think that will happen, but it hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. What will happen is that you'll see these companies, and this is already happening on kind of like the backroom conversations of Apptopia. Yeah. But like bigger companies are coming to us and they're like, we want to buy these 4 apps because buying these 4 apps will increase our rank in this category, right? We can leapfrog and we can acquire their users, right? And like this is like business acquisition 101.
Yeah.
How it's going to happen in mobile. And dude, I want to answer your question about State Farm. So let me give you a better example, okay? There's like a company here in this co-working space that we're working at that's building like maybe it's called Bright Drive or something like that. But it's a cool app that like allows you to have certain features and safety features that you would need while driving a car, right? And so State Farm could come in and say, shit, like we want to like have an app that like that promotes safe driving. So we're going to buy these guys. They have 80% of the features we want, but we're going to make it better. So now the current users of their app are happy that State Farm came in because they're providing they're able to put more money into the app, and so the features that they want, they're now getting, right? And so on the same note, like we've been doing a lot of work with casino apps. And so oftentimes we see like someone who has 5 slot machine apps buy 1 slot machine app. And so now this user, like they're not upset because they went from an app that had 1 slot machine to now 5 slot machines. And so it's like they already like slot machines, and now they're in an app that has 5 different types.
Right.
So it's a better experience for them, right? Yeah. And so obviously there'll be some sleazy people who want to send like a slot machine user to a productivity app, but they'll lose, right? Because it's not relevant. But like the people who are doing it smart, it's a relevant acquisition. And so it's actually a better situation for the user, you know?
Yeah. Do you think that whether it already is or will be soon, that a potential marketplace or a potential customer of yours on the seller side is going to be someone who got started in mobile, didn't think about strategy, built an app, and we're like, oh shit, we built this app, we're not making any money, we didn't really have a strategy, it was just, our strategy was build an app, and now we just want to recoup some of our costs. Do you think that's going to be an ultimate or one of your sellers? Because I see a lot of small businesses like thinking that they need to build an app to like get involved in mobile marketing, and like that's where they start, and they don't build a mobile website and they don't do anything like that, laying the foundation, and then they're like, okay, I have this thing and it doesn't really add any value. Are you going to capitalize on those people? Because you should.
Yeah, no, absolutely, right. And like I think of the 300,000 app developers, 60,000 have that mentality. Yeah. But they're like, I just want to build an app. And dude, like, this is fine. Like, I talk to a lot of app developers. They're like, I think building apps is fucking fun. It's really fun for me. And if I can sell my apps for like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 and start building the next one, that's fine. Because I'm having fun. Like, I enjoy doing this, right? And so you have like a handful of people who feel like this, right? Because, dude, they're bringing one skill set to the table, right? I'm like a pretty smart guy, I would like to think, and like I only bring one skill set to the table. I'm not technical at all,
right?
But a developer, like an app developer, he or she brings a technical skill set to the table, and not the skill set that's psychology and game mechanics, how to get someone to take their wallet out, how to support, grow, monetize an app. They're not bringing these skill sets to the table all the time. And so this is why people are kind of hitting a roadblock.
Right.
So Apptopia is kind of like you can pass the torch, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Now, let's see. You talked about, with Rob, this concept of taking your car to the car wash to sell it, to wash it before you sell it to make an additional $5,000. And I thought that was really interesting, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts on, one, that concept in a little more depth, but how you think that relates to the mentality of a small business owner, just out, not even just apps, just in whatever the small business owner does. It could be a service, it could be a hair salon, a bike shop, whatever. That mentality of like doing a little bit extra to win the customer. Do you think that that's something that's being lost right now, kind of in the small business space, or do you think that that's kind of where the businesses that are winning are those are the ones that are doing that, kind of following that philosophy? Like, if I give my customers a little bit more, I'll maybe retain them for the next couple of years or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question, and I guess I should say I'm extremely biased, right? I'm extremely biased because my like outlook on life, man, nonetheless just business, is that you have to do that, right? And like I actively go out of my way to get my hair cut at the place that like does that for me. You know what I mean? Like I go out of my way to support those businesses in my life. So like I'm very biased. I would say just from a business standpoint, I think it does happen. I actually think where I've been most disappointed with it recently is franchises, which is kind of like way off topic, but it's my real observation. Yeah. It's like a franchise is actually really a small business, right? You have this one guy who like started this, he invested his money into it. Right. He's just capitalizing on someone else's brand name and making less money as a result of it. And I like have seen a lot of franchises recently that just have no interest in like going the extra mile, right? Because they know that they can get a bare minimum just for slapping Starbucks on their logo. You know what I mean? And so I think that's been something that's been disappointing to me. But I mean, yeah, I think it makes a big difference, and I think it does make a big difference in apps as well. And I'll go back to the example of the car wash, right? What I was talking about there is there's things you can do as an app developer to increase the value of your app that are like pretty straightforward. Right. And I won't use a name because that's not fair, but like we just sold an app for about $3,500 or $4,000, and the guy submitted the app. The buyer decided he wanted to do like QA testing or like a code review on the app. It turned out that one of the 4 main buttons on the app like just didn't work. Like it was a game. This was like one of the 4 core functions, right? And you're just like, dude, why are you doing this? Like, why are you submitting this game? It's like, not only are you going to blow the sale, but you'll probably end up like losing money. Right. You know what I mean? You'll probably end up losing money on this, where if you had just like, you obviously knew this didn't work, right? Like you couldn't be the developer of this app and not know that one of the 4 fucking buttons on your homepage doesn't work, right? Like it's core, like it's just core. And so it sucks, right? And this guy will end up making less money as a result, because I'll tell you, the app developers on our site who sell an app and have like a really positive experience, dude, they sell more apps. Like it's not a surprise that we have some sellers who are making a lot of money on our site. Like I had this one guy who sold like 9 apps on my site. Wow. And I'm pretty sure that that's not a coincidence. You know what I mean? And like we'll even see buyers say, hey, I like this developer style. Do they have other apps? Right. And so just to like reel it back into that, like I think it does make a difference, right? And just like having these little things be easier, or saying, you know what, man, I'd be happy to provide an hour or 2 of my time to help with the transition. Right. I had a guy get offered a job at a big company as a full-time developer as a result of doing this. He got a fucking full-time job. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
just think that's the right mentality, man. It's just good karma, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, yeah. That could be kind of like a back end business model, is job employment. It's just like, hey,
Dude, this is not a
find
joke,
developer.
man. I can't tell you how many, like, I can think of at least 3 Fortune 500 companies in the last 3 months who have contacted me and be like, if you sell me mobile app developers, I'll pay you a lot of money. And I'm like, dude, I am not trafficking humans. Like, I just, like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity there for sure.
Just kind of based on that topic, are there ways for businesses to follow specific developers so they can kind of see their progress, or every time they post a new app for sale that they're notified?
No, I'm going to write this down, though, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, do it.
I mean, what we are developing right now is you can be notified about certain trends. Mm-hmm. So, like, again, I have people who are just like, I want casino apps. I'll buy any casino app on your site, right?
Yeah.
And so we're creating a newsletter that allows you to subscribe to specific categories or specific niches. So anything you can search by on our search page, you can subscribe to.
Gotcha.
And so you can get an email every time a casino app under $5,000 is listed. And so we allow people to get, like, these types of updates. But there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to follow a user as well. So I think that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, subscribing to a developer. I mean, like, if you said that if there's one guy who's sold 9 apps, I mean, there's probably someone who wants to know when he has another app available.
Dude, this guy, man, like,
he's killing it.
I made him at least $35,000. Like, he must love me. Like, it's just ridiculous, dude. These guys don't make that much money,
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I'm sure at some point, and if not already, people are, making a living selling their apps off of Apptopia.
Let's hope so, man. That'd be fantastic.
So let's see. I kind of wanted to step back a little bit to, why you were named the ambassador of Buzz, and this concept of building community, and how you're doing that for Apptopia. And then, I want to kind of dive into that first, and then I kind of have a couple questions about that. But what are you doing right now as operations to build this community? Because obviously you need more developers, you need to build awareness. Hustle is like your middle name. So what types of marketing initiatives are you guys implementing? That you've seen success with.
No, it's fair, and it's crazy relevant because I just put together an entire marketing plan and kind of have my biz dev team, like, starting to execute it. And I'll tell you this, dude, I'll be, like, stupidly honest right now. So my 3 core initiatives are sales, building relationships with developers, and education. Mm-hmm. Okay? And, like, keeping in mind that sales is oxygen, literally, for a business at my stage. I told my team that education should be 50% of their entire day. Okay? Mm-hmm. So twice as important as sales, twice as important as developer acquisition. Like, that's how important I hold that, right? I think that comes from a lot of what I learned being ambassador of Buzz, right? And I think that's how I plan on building the community. So developers, I can't tell you, man, every conversation I have with a developer, like, the root of it is, what's my app valued at? Mm-hmm. Because no one has any idea, right? And we have this kind of really unique experience and unique skill set where I probably spoke with 800 different buyers, okay? And I know exactly what pisses them off, what gets them excited, what pulls the trigger, what they back away from. Nonetheless, we have, like, all this unique information on the 30 different apps that we sold through our site, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you sit down and you help an app developer understand the value of their app and why, dude, they're, like, so appreciative of that, right?
So that's the main education, is educating developers on how to value their app.
Not the main education, but that's one piece of it, right? That's what gets a developer excited. Like, I can also educate a developer on, like, what should you be doing to get your app ready to be acquired? Mm. Like, dude, a lot of developers still don't use Flurry, and it's free. And it infuriates me, right? It's like, dude, how can anyone buy your app without these statistics?
Right.
It's ridiculous, right? How can you even make smart business decisions yourself without these statistics?
Right.
Like, little things like this, it's like, you'd be surprised. People don't know SEO, man. They don't understand Like they don't understand how similar mobile app businesses is to internet business, right? And so there's a whole education sphere there. The second thing is working with buyers, right? So we have buyers right now who completely understand mobile, right? And they're like feeding us right now, and they're the ones spending tens of thousands of dollars because they're like, holy shit, this is like the stock market when it just launched. Everything's mispriced. We can completely capitalize, right? And I think that will exist for another 6 to 9 months, by the way. But it's educating like buyers who know that they want to get involved with mobile and educating them on how do you value the application? What do you need to be looking at to know if this is a good buy, if this is a bad buy? Does this have good design? Is there an opportunity? Here are 5 or 6 use cases or case studies of different situations where you'd buy an app. Here's the price range I recommend for each situation. Here's an example of an app that sold in this situation, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, dude, we are creating something that does not fucking exist. And so you'll be stupid to think that education isn't your biggest sales tool. And it's not. It's how I want to build the community.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, that seems like it's going to be the main driver in, building that community. So with kind of the introduction of HTML5 and, a lot of people talking about app versus mobile web. And, as we get further down the line, a year, 2 years from now, where you can probably do a lot of things that an app can do with HTML5. How do you see that potentially shaking the business, or do you think there's an opportunity to kind of combine, HTML experiences, people that want to buy full HTML, sites and things like that already have, traffic and whatnot?
Yeah. So I think there's 2 things. I think one, you're exactly right? Like we'll be stupid if we're not selling Mac apps within 3 months. And we'll be even stupider if we're not selling Facebook apps within 6 months. Right. And so I think we are a second market for applications. And I think the idea of what an application is not going anywhere for an extended period of time. Right. Like when you think about what an app is, it's a really concise, focused, simple way to get information that you need, focused on one topic and one easy to use mobile experience. Right. And I guess mobile experience is actually even too specific, right? Because there's web apps and whatnot. So I think that will be our niche, right? Selling apps. Having said that, I think the HTML5 conversation is more of a conversation that people enjoy negotiating or enjoy talking about than it is something I'm like super worried about.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because, one, it's not as fast and as easy to use right now. It's just not. And I think that there's going to be some privacy restrictions. And again, like I'm the first to say that I'm one of the least technical people in the business, in our business, right?
Yeah.
I'm completely open with that. But like one of the cool things about mobile apps is that I can allow specific mobile apps to access local files on my phone.
Yep.
And they can provide a personalized experience because they're providing this local experience. I don't want to provide any website or any URL, right, or anything in a browser access to things that are on my local machine. That's scary to me, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder how you provide the same customized experience without the security risk.
Interesting. Yeah.
Dude, have you, like, I don't know what kind of like subway or transit system you have in Denver, but like we have the T here in Boston or the subway in New York. It's fucking crazy, dude. Everyone's on their phone.
Oh, everyone.
Everyone. What are they going to be using HTML5 apps when they're on the subway?
Right.
No, they're not, right?
Yeah.
Like there's value in not needing any internet for the mobile application, right?
Yeah, 100% agree.
Like one of the best things Spotify ever did was allow you to like access your entire playlist offline.
Right.
Right? Like they download these temporary files locally. And that's when I'm like, done. I'll give you money. I'll pay for your service, right?
That's exactly when I started paying for their service.
Dude, it's a non-issue, right? And so like I think that's another issue with HTML5 for me. And again, the people smarter than me will probably solve this, right? But at what cost? Like why? Why are you solving that?
Right.
We have mobile apps that are awesome.
So I kind of want to start wrapping up a little bit, but I'm going to take this opportunity to learn a little bit. So, you were, evangelized as, the person who knows how to create buzz. Your title was around it. You created this product called Learn to Buzz, which I haven't taken yet. I'm actually interested in taking it. Can you quickly tell me about what made you create that course? How is it done? Do people still buy it? Are you still, pushing it?
Yeah, so a couple things, right? I think there's like a personal and a work reason for doing this. The personal was that I spent 3 years at Grasshopper, and these 3 years like altered my life as a human being, to be completely honest with you, right? Like I went from just like a hustler college kid who was doing sales to someone who fucking completely understood and like could teach people this niche, like the skill set that a lot of people wanted to learn. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like once I knew, even before the founders of Grasshopper knew, once I knew that I had to leave Grasshopper, like after work every day, I just started going to a coffee shop and just writing down everything that I knew. Because I knew once I created a business, I didn't want to just be the PR guy. I didn't want to just be the marketing guy. I wanted to be more than that. I knew I could be more than that. Mm-hmm. But that I had to take this skill that I had and like put it somewhere, right? Like put it somewhere so that I didn't lose that. You know what I mean? That would have been a bad thing. And so that's what started it. Then I started like talking to like the VP of marketing at moo.com and like started talking to like big people who were like, holy shit, we need this. You know what I mean? And then that's when I was kind of like, okay, maybe I could actually sell this. And it wouldn't be bad to make a little money while I'm like a poor entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it led to. I'll tell you, I wouldn't recommend that anyone buys it. And the reason I say that is because David Hauser and I, who's the founder of Grasshopper, took Learn to Buzz and co-authored something better that we're going to be releasing in probably a month. And you will have the opportunity to read that for free.
Gotcha.
So we essentially decided to take a page out of like 37 Signals, guys, where it's like we should provide the content online for free. Mm-hmm. But if you want a PDF or a book, then you pay us $20 and we'll send you a PDF or a book, right?
Cool.
And so we're creating something called the Buzz Playbook, which essentially takes what I started, but you get it from two perspectives now, which we thought was really valuable, like the hustler perspective and the founder perspective.
Interesting.
And we think like regardless of what role you're in, seeing both perspectives allows you to do your job better, regardless of which role you happen to fit into. So we're going to be launching that, and of course I'll send you it for free, right? Anyway, but yeah, man, it was I had to just get that out of my head, to be completely honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'd like to ask you for any kind of quick advice, because with Mobile Mixed, again, like I'm interviewing people like yourself and, mobile SEO specialists and things like that where, I want to take that with my experience of, leveraging SMS or even like creating a product roadmap for building an application for your business, and essentially productize that and, kind of create this information product opportunity, to kind of share the knowledge, but also, like you said, make a little bit of money. What did you learn in that experience? And, do you have any recommendations for me in, one, building the community to the point where, you could go out and say, hey, look, I have this product. And then two, like the actual task of building the product, like any recommendations there?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is that you probably need to have a lot of information. Okay. Because you need to give the majority of it away for free to build the community. Yep. Which is the tricky part, right? Like, what do you give away? What do you keep as nuggets, et-cetera, right? Yep. And so you have to have enough information that you can give the majority of it away for free enough that people need more. Right. Right? And the second thing, and this is what I got the most positive feedback from, you have to tell a story. You have to, like, make it personal. Mm-hmm. So in like the first couple pages of Learn to Buzz, it's me just like talking about how I was in such a bad place in my life before Grasshopper. And like, I just like really told who I was and like how this affected who I am and the opportunity that I had. And like, I had people emailing me halfway through the book being like, holy shit, man, I was going through the same thing. Right. Like I was experiencing the same problem. And it doesn't need to be like a sob story. Like I'm probably over exaggerating how emotional it is completely. Like that's not what it is at all. But I mean, even in good business, like if you go on Grasshopper's homepage right now, they have a happy customers tab. and it doesn't talk anything about the product, but it allows people to like relate, put themselves in your shoes. So the best advice I would give you is like, A, write about something that you know a lot of people care about, and B, like just be more open and honest and less professional and more human than you would think, because it's more valuable to have it's just more valuable to have someone feel a connection to what you're writing than it is to have it be like super professional.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And then the last thing, make sure someone edits it. Someone who's smarter than you.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I almost made that mistake, dude, and I'm happy I didn't do that.
So to wrap it up, I think when I talk to really anyone looking to get in mobile marketing, I always advise them to, if they don't have a mobile optimized website, to go there first, just because there's a lot of search implications, especially from the small business perspective, looking to get a pizza or, looking to grab a drink or things like that, where, you could quickly get to a mobile optimized website, and, then be connecting with that business. But where do you see, at least for a small to medium-sized business, to me, Apptopia seems like it's an opportunity to dive into maybe an application earlier than they normally would, but strategically, kind of as a business, where do you think the value is for them, diving into this app? And I know that's super generic because it could be different for any single business, but think of like a retail-oriented business, that's trying to engage, customers in a deeper level, maybe transactions and things like that. How important is it that they, be looking at something like Apptopia to get in the game?
Yeah, so I'll even take Apptopia out of it for a second, because we'll have a lot of competitors, and I don't even really care who you use, but like this will be something that you do.
Yep. Right.
This is going to happen. And to answer your question, it's testing. And like anyone who's a smart business owner or a smart marketer or understands acquisitions, like it's all fucking testing. It's like you can't make any decision without testing something first. And so a lot of the businesses we're working in who aren't in mobile and are using Apptopia as their stepping stone into mobile, they're like, we want to buy this like dog training app because I want to see how the community responds to what we're doing in dog training. And so, and you can like it's a really cheap, low barrier of entry we're providing. And so you can test how a certain community is responding. Because if you buy a dog training app, you are buying users who are already interested in this, right?
Right.
And like, I guess what I'm just trying to say is you can test how your business does in mobile and how people will respond to mobile really quickly and cheaply with Apptopia.
Right.
And so I would essentially just recommend that before you go pay some ridiculous firm in like a big city to build you something that already exists for $100,000, just do a small test.
Right.
Like learn about if your business should even be in mobile. And if it should be in mobile, like what aspect of it. And we can kind of help you do that, right? We can help drive people to an app. We can help you get an app. I mean, we can kind of just help with that knowledge.
It's almost like getting a minimum viable product, in an app form as fast as possible to validate if an app is appropriate for, the specific function or utility that you're trying to provide.
Absolutely, man. Like we actually have a couple small businesses that are doing literally that right now. They're like, we're just going to buy an inexpensive app in our category. We're going to buy another app in that category and drive those users to this app and see how they respond to our product and our branding.
Interesting. Cool. So I really appreciate your time.
Of course.
I always like to let the guests kind of give a little plug. You're super open. You've always been super open to let me contact you whenever, and I know you're like that with pretty much everyone. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you? And give a little Apptopia plug.
Yeah, man. I'm Jon at apptopia.com. We are apptopia.com. As we said, we're brokers, man. We're mobile app brokers, and we make it stupid simple and really, really secure. We handle all the legal, we handle all the escrow, and we have a team of people who just understands this. So if you're looking to get involved in mobile, or you're not making enough money in mobile, we'd love to find a way to help you out.
Cool. So like you said, and anyone that's watching that's trying to get into the app game, sell an app, validate a potential idea for their business via an app, check out Apptopia, reach out to John. And again, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Love talking to you all the time, and following your story. It's been great.
Nah, man, it was really fun, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool, man. Take it easy.
Bye.
All right, one last note, everybody. Again, sign up for the Mobile Mix newsletter soon. We're going to be releasing a video series on how to get started in mobile marketing, and you are not going to want to miss it. Catch you next time.